First contact surprise. The stars seemed to ripple like water as the ESV Athena dropped out of hyperdrive. Captain Alina Reyes felt the slight shudder through the deck plates beneath her boots, a familiar sensation that told her they had successfully transitioned back to normal space. She brushed a strand of dark hair from her face and leaned forward in her command chair. "Status report," she ordered calmly. Commander Joshi glanced up from his console. "All systems nominal, Captain. We've arrived at the coordinates exactly as planned. This is officially the furthest any human vessel has traveled from Earth." The bridge crew exchanged excited glances. The year was 2189, and humanity had only mastered hyperdrive technology 15 years ago. The Athena led Earth's third wave of exploration missions, pushing the boundaries of known space with each journey. "Let's see what we've got," Alina said. Full sensor sweep of the system. Lieutenant Karim Ahmed, the ship's sensor officer, was already working his console. "Captain, I'm detecting 7 planets orbiting a G-type star, similar to our Sun. Third planet shows Earth-like conditions, nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere, extensive oceans, moderate temperatures. Any signs of civilization?" Commander Joshi asked. Karim adjusted his instruments. "I'm picking up." "Wait." His eyes widened. "Captain, I'm detecting artificial structures on the third planet and vessels in orbit. This system is inhabited." The bridge fell silent. In 15 years of exploration, humanity had encountered only 2 other spacefaring species. Both had been pre-FTL civilizations, still confined to their home systems. "Show me," Alina ordered. The main view screen shifted to display a magnified view of the third planet. Several sleek vessels orbited the blue-green world. They had an organic look to them, with curving hulls that reminded Alina of marine creatures from Earth. "Those are definitely not human designs," Commander Joshi murmured. "They've spotted us," Karim reported. 3 vessels have altered course and are heading our way." Alina straightened in her chair. First contact scenarios had been drilled into every explorer crew. Standard first contact protocols. Open all communication frequencies, lower our shields to passive mode, and power down weapons systems. Let's show them we come in peace. As the alien vessels approached, the crew could make out more details. The ships were primarily silver with iridescent accents that seemed to pulse with internal light. They moved with a fluid grace that human vessels couldn't match. "They're hailing us," Communications Officer Maya Wong announced. "The signal contains a mathematical sequence. Prime numbers. I think it's their version of a universal greeting. Respond with the same sequence, followed by our standard first contact package," Alina ordered. Maya's fingers flew across her console. "Transmitting now." The largest alien vessel, approximately twice the size of the Athena, took up position directly ahead of them. The other 2 ships flanked it in perfect formation. "Incoming transmission," Maya reported. "They've processed our language database remarkably quickly." The view screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. The being had smooth, silvery skin with a faint bluish tint. Its eyes were large and completely black, with no visible iris or pupil. It had no apparent nose, just 2 small slits, and its mouth was a thin line. Ridges ran along the top of its elongated head. Unknown vessel, the alien spoke in stilted but understandable English. "You have entered the sovereign territory of the Kelvorian Stellar Imperium. Identify yourself and state your purpose immediately." Alina stepped forward. "I am Captain Alina Reyes of the Earth space vessel Athena. We are explorers from the planet Earth, seeking peaceful contact with other intelligent species. We had no knowledge this system was claimed by any civilization." The alien's eyes narrowed slightly. "I am High Commander Zalvek of the Imperial Fleet. Your ignorance of our domain is noted but irrelevant. The Kelvorian Imperium has ruled these stars for 2,000 cycles. All who enter our space must submit to Imperial authority or face immediate consequences." Alina exchanged a quick glance with Commander Joshi. This wasn't the warm welcome they'd hoped for. High Commander, Alina said carefully, we respect your territorial claims. As representatives of Earth, we propose a diplomatic meeting to establish peaceful relations between our peoples. Zalvek's expression didn't change, but a ripple of color passed across his skin. The Imperium does not establish relations with lesser species. You will power down your primitive vessel and prepare to be boarded for inspection. If your technology or knowledge proves useful, you may be granted protectorate status within the Imperium. Lieutenant Ahmed turned from his console. Captain, I'm detecting energy buildups in their forward sections. I believe they're charging weapons. Alina kept her expression neutral. High Commander, with respect, we cannot allow unknown personnel to board our vessel without proper diplomatic protocols. Perhaps we cold. Silence. Zalvek's voice boomed. Your vessel's design is crude, and your technology clearly inferior. You are in no position to negotiate. The Kelvorian Imperium has subjugated 12 species across 8 star systems. Your compliance is not requested, it is demanded. What happened next surprised even Alina. A chuckle escaped from Commander Joshi. Then Lieutenant Ahmed snorted. Within seconds, several bridge officers were struggling to contain their laughter. On the view screen, Zalvek's face registered what could only be described as shock. You laugh. In the face of Imperial authority. Alina couldn't help but smile herself. I apologize for my crew's reaction, High Commander. It's just that where we come from, introductions usually involve less. Ultimatums. You mock the Imperium. Zalvek's skin flashed deep blue. No species has ever dared show such disrespect. No disrespect intended, Alina replied calmly. Humans just don't respond well to threats. We've been threatening each other for thousands of years. We're somewhat desensitized to it. Zalvek turned to speak to someone off-screen, clearly agitated. When he faced them again, his expression was rigid. You will cease this inappropriate behavior immediately. As demonstration of Imperial power, we will disable your primary propulsion system. The screen went dark. They've cut transmission, Maya reported. Shields up, Alina ordered immediately. But keep weapons on standby. Let's see what they've got. A beam of pulsing violet energy shot from the lead Kelvorian vessel toward the Athena. It struck the human ship shields, creating a brief display of blue-white light where it made contact. Shield status, Alina asked calmly. Shields holding at 97%, Captain, Joshi reported with a hint of amusement. Their weapon barely registered. They're scanning us, Karim said. I think they're trying to figure out why their shot didn't cripple us. The Kelvorians had clearly expected their demonstration to leave the humans humbled and afraid. Instead, the Athena hovered unchanged, its systems fully operational. They're hailing us again, Maya said. On screen, Alina ordered. Zalvek appeared, his silver-blue skin now rippling with darker patterns. Impossible. Your shields should have failed instantly. Alina leaned back in her chair. As I was trying to explain, High Commander, humans come in peace, but we come prepared. Perhaps now we can discuss diplomatic relations as equals. Equals. Zalvek seemed genuinely baffled by the concept. The Imperium has no equals. Then today marks a first, Alina replied. And firsts are what exploration is all about. Before Zalvek could respond, Lieutenant Ahmed called out, Captain, I'm detecting multiple hyperdrive signatures approaching. More Kelvorian vessels incoming. On the tactical display, dozens of new contacts appeared. The 3 ships they'd been facing were joined by an armada of Kelvorian vessels, ranging from small patrol craft to massive ships that dwarfed even the Athena. It seems the High Commander has called for reinforcements, Commander Joshi observed dryly. Alina nodded. So much for a simple first contact. On the view screen, Zalvek's expression had shifted to something like satisfaction. Now, Captain Rice, you faced the true might of the Kelvorian Imperium. Your single vessel stands against 43 Imperial warships. Your shield technology is impressive, but it cannot withstand concentrated fire from our entire battle group. This is your final opportunity to surrender." Elena studied the tactical display. The Kelvorians had arranged their fleet in a spherical formation around the Athena, cutting off all possible escape vectors. "Options?" she asked her senior officers quietly. "We could try to punch through their blockade," Joshi suggested. "Our shields should hold long enough to reach hyperdrive range, and start an interstellar war in the process," Elena replied. Communications Officer Wong spoke up. "Captain, what about Protocol Omega?" Elena considered this for a moment. Protocol Omega had been established for exactly this type of situation, a show of force without escalation. It was risky, but it might be exactly what they needed. "Prepare Protocol Omega," she ordered. "But first, let's try one more diplomatic approach." She turned back to the view screen. "High Commander Zolvek, surely there's no need for this display of force. We are one exploration vessel on a peaceful mission. The people of Earth would much prefer to establish friendly relations with the Kelvorian Imperium." "Your preference is irrelevant," Zolvek replied coldly. "The Imperium has stood for 2,000 cycles because we never show weakness. Submit now, or we open fire." Elena sighed. "You leave us no choice, High Commander. But before you take action, there's something you should know about humans." "And what is that?" Zolvek asked contemptuously. Elena smiled. "We never travel alone." She nodded to Maya, who sent the prearranged signal. Space itself seemed to ripple as 5 massive Earth vessels dropped out of hyperdrive simultaneously, arranging themselves in a protective formation around the Athena. Each was 3 times the size of the exploration vessel, their sleek hulls bearing the insignia of the Earth Defense Fleet. The bridge of the Athena fell silent as they watched the Kelvorian reaction. The alien vessels, so perfectly arranged moments before, broke formation in apparent confusion. "Incoming transmission," Maya reported, from the EDF Olympus. Admiral Jackson's weathered face appeared on a secondary screen. "Captain Rice, the cavalry has arrived. Sorry we're late. Traffic was hell." Elena couldn't help but smile. "Perfect timing, as always, Admiral." On the main view screen, Zolvek's expression was difficult to read, but the rapid color changes across his skin suggested extreme agitation. "What deception is this?" he demanded. "Where did these vessels come from?" "No deception, High Commander," Elena replied calmly. "Standard Earth exploration protocols. We send a scout ship ahead, while the main fleet waits at the edge of the system, cloaked and in standby mode. Just a precaution." This was, of course, not entirely true. The Earth Defense Fleet vessels had been waiting at the previously established rendezvous point, ready to respond to any emergency signal from the Athena. Protocol Omega called for them to make a dramatic entrance specifically to avoid the need for actual combat. "Impossible," Zolvek insisted. "Our sensors detected no other vessels in the system." "Yes," Elena said, allowing a hint of pride to enter her voice. "We noticed that limitation in your technology." For the first time, uncertainty flashed across Zolvek's face. The Kelvorian fleet, which had been repositioning to confront the Earth vessels, had stopped moving. Admiral Jackson's voice came through on a private channel. "How do you want to play this, Captain? These folks don't seem like the friendly type." Elena considered her options. The situation was balanced on a knife's edge. One wrong move could start a conflict that neither side truly wanted. "High Commander," she said finally, "it seems we've reached an impasse. You can't force us to submit without significant losses to your own fleet, and we have no desire to engage in combat. I propose a third option, a formal diplomatic meeting between representatives of Earth and the Kelvorian Imperium. No demands, no threats, just 2 spacefaring civilizations seeking to understand each other." Zolvek was silent for a long moment, his skin cycling through various color patterns. Finally, he spoke. "The Imperator must be consulted. Maintain your position and take no aggressive action. I will return with the Imperator's decision." The transmission ended. Commander Joshi let out a long breath. That could have gone worse. It's not over yet, Elena cautioned. Admiral, please keep your vessels on standby but non-threatening posture. Let's not give them any excuse to escalate. Understood, Captain, Jackson replied. Though I must say, your first contacts are never boring. Elena finally allowed herself to relax slightly in her chair. The day's still young. Admiral, something tells me the Kelvorians have more surprises in store for us. As the human vessels held their position, surrounded by the still imposing Kelvorian armada, Elena couldn't help but wonder what the next hours would bring. First contact was always unpredictable, but rarely had humanity's future in the galaxy hinged so precariously on a single conversation. The real challenge was just beginning. The unexpected resolution. 3 hours had passed since High Commander Zalvek departed to consult with the Imperator. The bridge of the ESV Athena remained on high alert, though Captain Elena Reyes had ordered rotation breaks to keep her crew fresh. The standoff continued, with the Kelvorian armada maintaining their position around the 6 Earth vessels. Anything new from our scans? Elena asked, accepting a cup of coffee from her yeoman. Lieutenant Ahmed shook his head. Nothing significant, Captain. They'd been running continuous scans on our ships, particularly focused on our shield generators and engine systems. I think they're trying to figure out our technology. Let them look, Commander Joshi said with a slight smile. Our open broadcast specs don't reveal anything sensitive. Communications Officer Wong turned from her station. Captain, incoming transmission from the Kelvorian flagship. It's different from the previous signals. Different how? Elena asked. Much more complex data structure. And it's not just from High Commander Zalvek's vessel. It's being relayed from somewhere deeper in their territory. Elena set down her coffee. The Imperator, most likely. On screen. The view screen flickered to life, but instead of Zalvek's now familiar face, a new Kelvorian appeared. This one's skin had a deeper blue tint with intricate silver patterns that seemed almost ceremonial. Jeweled ornaments adorned the ridges on its head, and it wore an elaborate collar that radiated soft light. I am Imperator Val Zoran of the Kelvorian Stellar Imperium, the alien announced, its voice deeper and more resonant than Zalvek's. For 2,000 cycles, no civilization has dared to challenge Imperial authority. You, humans of Earth, have accomplished this feat with a single vessel and peculiar laughter. Elena stood. Imperator Val Zoran, I am Captain Elena Reyes of Earth. We didn't come to challenge your authority, but to explore and establish peaceful contact. The confrontation was not our intention. The Imperator studied her for a moment. Intention is irrelevant. Consequence is what matters. High Commander Zalvek reports that your vessels possess technology that rivals or exceeds our own in several areas. This is unprecedented. Different paths of development lead to different technologies, Elena replied diplomatically. We each likely have innovations the other would find valuable. The Imperator's skin rippled with colors. Perhaps, but more intriguing is your species' reaction to Imperial authority. You laughed. In 2,000 cycles of Imperial expansion, no species has ever responded with laughter. Commander Joshi stepped forward. If I may, Imperator, humans have a complex relationship with authority. We respect it when it's earned, but we don't automatically submit to it simply because it's claimed. Val Zoran's head tilted slightly. Fascinating. And potentially dangerous. The Imperium's stability depends on absolute recognition of the hierarchy. Without it, chaos would reign. With respect, Elena said, Earth's various cultures have experimented with many forms of social organization throughout our history. We've found that the most successful societies balance structure with flexibility, authority with individual freedom. You speak of contradictions as if they are strengths, Val Zoran observed. Elena nodded. To humans, they often are. We call it creative tension. Before the Imperator could respond, a new alert sounded on the tactical console. Captain, Lieutenant Ahmed reported, 3 more vessels just dropped out of hyperdrive. They're Earth ships, diplomatic corps, based on their registry. Elena felt a wave of relief. Earth's government had received their first transmissions about the Kelvorian contact and had dispatched a proper diplomatic team. The timing couldn't be better. Imperator Val-Zoran, she said, representatives from Earth's diplomatic corps have arrived to formally establish relations with the Kelvorian Imperium. Would you be willing to receive them? The Imperator was silent for a moment, colors shifting across his skin in complex patterns. This is not the standard Imperial protocol for integrating new species. However, these are unusual circumstances. I will allow a small delegation to board my vessel. Thank you, Imperator, Elena replied. In the spirit of mutual respect, would you consider sending representatives to one of our vessels as well? A simultaneous exchange would demonstrate good faith on both sides. Val-Zoran's eyes narrowed slightly. You continue to negotiate as if we are equals. In exploration and diplomacy, we find that approach yields the best results, Elena said simply. After another long pause, the Imperator nodded. Very well. A delegation of 3 may board my vessel. I will send 3 representatives to yours. But be warned, any deception will be met with immediate and overwhelming force. Understood, Elena agreed. We'll begin preparations immediately. 4 hours later, Elena stood in the Athena's formal reception area alongside Dr. Liang Chen, Earth's senior xenodiplomat, and his 2 assistants. They had spent the intervening time in intense briefings, reviewing everything they had learned about Kelvorian culture from the initial contact. Remember, Dr. Chen advised, hierarchical societies typically place enormous value on symbols of status and rank. Observe all formal protocols they establish, but maintain Earth's diplomatic positioning. Elena nodded. Respectful but not submissive. Exactly, Chen confirmed. And expect them to test boundaries. It's how hierarchical systems naturally function. The door chimed, and Security Chief Rodriguez announced, Kelvorian delegation arriving, Captain. 3 Kelvorians entered the room. In the lead was a figure almost as adorned as the Imperator, though with different color patterns. Behind came 2 others with simpler attire, but still bearing insignias that suggested high rank. I am Grand Vizier Kelmoris, the Lid Kelvorian announced. I speak with the Imperator's voice. These are Chief Science Advisor Taz Ven and Imperial Historian Nex Lara. Dr. Chen stepped forward and performed the formal Earth diplomatic greeting, a slight bow with right hand over heart. I am Dr. Liang Chen, Senior Xenodiplomatic Envoy of Earth. These are my colleagues, Diplomatic Officer Sophia Williams, and Cultural Specialist Marcus Okafor. We are honored by your presence aboard our vessel. Grand Vizier Kelmoris observed the humans with obvious curiosity. Your vessel's design is unlike any in our records. It lacks the aesthetic harmony of Kelvorian craft, yet its functionality appears adequate. Elena suppressed a smile at the backhanded compliment. We find form follows function in deep space, Grand Vizier. Would you care for a tour of our adequate vessel? The tour proceeded through the Athena's main sections, with the Kelvorians asking surprisingly technical questions about Earth's propulsion, shield technology, and sensor systems. Dr. Chen masterfully deflected the most sensitive inquiries while offering enough information to demonstrate goodwill. When they reached the ship's arboretum, a large chamber filled with plants from Earth and its colonies, the Kelvorians stopped in apparent amazement. You transport living flora through space, Chief Science Advisor Taz Ven asked. For what purpose? Multiple purposes, Elena explained. They help recycle our air, provide fresh food, and offer psychological benefits to the crew during long missions. Psychological benefits. Taz Ven seemed genuinely confused. Marcus Okafor, the cultural specialist, stepped in. Humans maintain strong connections to our natural environment. Being surrounded by growing things helps maintain our mental health during extended periods in space. The Imperial Historian, Next, Lara made a sound that might have been skepticism. Inefficient. Space vessels should prioritize function over comfort. We find that crew comfort directly impacts function, Elena countered politely. Happy, healthy crews perform better than uncomfortable ones, especially on long missions. The Kelvorians exchanged glances that Elena couldn't interpret. As they continued the tour, they passed a recreation area where off-duty crew members were playing a rowdy game of basketball. The Kelvorians stopped to watch as the players shouted, laughed, and playfully taunted each other. Your subordinates behave this way routinely? Grand Vizier Kelmoris asked, his skin flickering with patterns Elena now recognized as confusion. During their personal time, yes, Elena explained. Recreation is essential for human well-being. But they show no deference to rank during this activity, Kelmoris observed. That crew member just spoke harshly to an officer. Elena smiled. In recreation spaces, formal rank structures are temporarily relaxed. It builds camaraderie and trust, which strengthens our command structure when it matters most. The Kelvorians seemed genuinely baffled by this concept. Meanwhile, aboard the Kelvorian flagship, Commander Joshi led a small Earth delegation through the immaculate corridors of the alien vessel. They had been granted a similarly guided tour, though the atmosphere was decidedly more formal. Your drive systems are quite impressive, Earth's senior engineer commented as they were shown the massive engine room. The efficiency ratings must be extraordinary. The Imperial fleet leads the sector in all technical specifications, their guide replied stiffly. Joshi noticed that, unlike on human vessels, there seemed to be no casual interaction between Kelvorian crew members. Each moved with precision, acknowledging superiors with elaborate gestures and saying nothing beyond required communications. When the tour concluded, they were escorted to a grand hall where Imperator Val Zoran awaited on an elevated platform. The room's design forced visitors to look up at the Imperator, a deliberate architectural choice to reinforce authority. You have seen the might of the Kelvorian Imperium, Val Zoran stated. Does Earth now understand the futility of resistance? Ambassador Keller, the senior Earth diplomat, stepped forward. Imperator Val Zoran, we did not come to resist but to connect. What we've seen today impresses us, certainly, but not in the way you might expect. Explain, the Imperator commanded. Your civilization has achieved remarkable technological advancement while maintaining a strict social order, Keller said. Humans have always struggled with balancing innovation and stability. We're curious how you've managed both. This was not the response Val Zoran had anticipated. You wish to learn from us. Of course, Keller replied. Just as we hope you might find value in learning from Earth. Different evolutionary paths have given our species different strengths. Together, we could achieve more than either could alone. The Imperator's skin displayed rapidly shifting patterns. This is not how species integration typically proceeds within the Imperium. Perhaps that's because you've never encountered a species that developed along a truly different path, Keller suggested. Most species in your Imperium evolved in similar environments, did they not? Chief Science Advisor Tazven, who had returned from touring the Athena, stepped forward. Imperator, I must report that the humans maintain unusual practices. They grow plants aboard their vessels and engage in chaotic physical activities during duty cycles. Their command structure appears simultaneously rigid and fluid in ways that contradict our understanding of efficient organization. Yet their technology functions effectively, Val Zoran noted. Perhaps there is something to this creative tension they describe. Back aboard the Athena, Elena received a priority communication from Ambassador Keller. The news was surprising but promising. The Imperator has proposed a cultural exchange program, Keller reported. They wish to send Kelvorian scholars to study human social structures, and they've invited Earth scientists to examine their technical achievements. That's unexpected, Elena admitted. Apparently, our basketball game made quite an impression, Keller said with a smile. The concept of temporarily suspended hierarchy for the purpose of social bonding is revolutionary to them. And they're fascinated by our apparent contradictions, how we can maintain discipline while encouraging individual initiative. 3 days later, the diplomatic negotiations had progressed remarkably. The initial hostility had transformed into cautious curiosity on both sides. The Kelvorian armada had withdrawn to a respectful distance, though they remained within their territory's boundaries. Alina sat in her ready room, reviewing reports, when her door chimed. "Enter," she called. To her surprise, it was High Commander Zalvek who stepped through the door. His posture seemed less rigid than during their first encounter. "High Commander," Alina greeted him, rising from her desk. "This is unexpected." "Captain Reyes," Zalvek acknowledged with a slight nod. "I have been instructed to speak with you directly, outside the formal diplomatic channels." "Please, have a seat," Alina offered. "Would you care for refreshment? We have synthesized several beverages that should be compatible with Kelvorian physiology." Zalvek hesitated before accepting a seat. "No refreshment is necessary. I wish to understand something." "I'm listening," Alina said gently. "When we first encountered your vessel, you and your crew laughed at Imperial authority," Zalvek said. "Yet since then, you have shown respect for our customs and protocols. This seems contradictory." Alina considered her response carefully. "Humans can respect others without fearing them, High Commander. We laughed not out of disrespect, but because the situation, being threatened immediately upon meeting, struck us as absurd. In human experience, lasting relationships are built on mutual respect, not intimidation." Zalvek's skin rippled with thoughtful patterns. "The Imperium has maintained order for 2,000 cycles through the clear exercise of authority. It has been effective." "I don't doubt it," Alina agreed. "But has it been fulfilling? Has it allowed your civilization to reach its full potential?" "You question the foundation of our society," Zalvek observed, but without the anger he might have shown days earlier. "I offer a perspective from a different evolutionary path," Alina corrected gently. "Humans learned, often through painful lessons, that our greatest achievements come when we balance structure with freedom, collective action with individual initiative." Zalvek was quiet for a long moment. The Imperator has never before considered an alliance rather than subjugation or protectorate status. Yet with Earth, this is what he now proposes. "And what do you think of that proposal?" Alina asked. "It is unprecedented," Zalvek admitted. "But perhaps, as you humans might say, unprecedented is not always undesirable." Alina smiled. "That sounds very human indeed, High Commander." 1 week after the first tense encounter between the ESV Athena and the Kelvorian fleet, representatives from both civilizations gathered aboard the Earth diplomatic vessel Concordia to sign the first-ever Kelvorian-Earth Cooperative Agreement. Imperator Valzorin, appearing in person rather than by transmission, addressed the assembled dignitaries. For 2,000 cycles, the Kelvorian Imperium has expanded through the stars, bringing lesser species under our protection and guidance. Today, we acknowledge that in humans, we have encountered not a lesser species, but a different one, with strengths and perspectives that complement our own. The formal agreement established mutual recognition, trade protocols, and cultural exchange programs. Most significantly, it acknowledged both powers as equals, something unprecedented in Kelvorian history. As the ceremony concluded, Alina found herself standing next to High Commander Zalvek. "One question remains unanswered, Captain Reyes," he said quietly. "When we first demanded your surrender, what would you have done if your reinforcements had not arrived?" Alina smiled. "They were always going to arrive, High Commander. Humans never send explorers without backup. We're adventurous, not reckless." Zalvek's skin displayed what Alina had come to recognize as amusement. "Perhaps that is why our civilizations may work well together. Your chaotic creativity balanced by our disciplined order." "Creative tension," Alina agreed. As the Athena prepared to depart the Kelvorian system days later, Alina recorded her final log entry. First contact with the Kelvorian Stellar Imperium concluded successfully. despite initial hostilities. What began with laughter in the face of threats has ended with the foundation for a potentially transformative alliance. Earth has gained not just access to new technologies and worlds, but perspective on our own civilization's strengths and weaknesses. The Kelvorians, in turn, have begun questioning 2,000 cycles of rigid hierarchy, not to abandon their cultural identity, but to explore its untapped potential. As we chart course for our next destination, I'm reminded that the true purpose of exploration is not just to discover new worlds, but new ways of seeing our own. The Athena's hyperdrive engaged, and the stars stretched into brilliant streamers as the ship accelerated toward its next adventure. Behind them, the Kelvorian system continued its orbital dance, forever changed by humanity's laughter and the unexpected diplomatic revolution it had sparked. In the vast darkness between the stars, two civilizations had discovered something profound. True strength comes not from domination, but from connection, not from rigidity, but from adaptability, and sometimes, just sometimes, from having the courage to laugh in the face of power.